If you like your short stories with a dose of satire and a splash of discomfort, or if you've ever seen yourself in characters who are selfish, clueless, or hilariously misguided, or if you want fiction that makes you laugh one moment and squirm the next, if so, then today's book just might be for you. Today, I'll be reviewing Rejection by Tony Tulathimutte. Welcome to Spencer Reads Everything. I'm your host, Spencer Duncan, and on this channel, I review every kind of book I read, from history to fantasy to biting short story collections like this one, so that you can decide which ones might be right for you. Today's book is Rejection by Tony Tulathimutte. I first came across it on a New York Times list of books to read this summer, and this one definitely stood out as interesting, to say the least. It's a collection that isn't afraid to provoke, unsettle, and sometimes make you laugh at things you might not want to admit out loud. Before we get started the book itself, let's of course take a little look at the author, Tony Tulathimutte. He is an American writer known for his sharp, provocative take on contemporary life. His debut novel, Private Citizens, came out in 2016, and it was praised as a satirical portrait of millennial culture in San Francisco, earning him recognition as a bold new literary voice. Beyond fiction, he's published essays and criticism in outlets like The New Yorker, The New York Times, The Paris Review, and others. Tulathimutte is also the founder of Crit, a free writing workshop in Brooklyn where he mentors aspiring writers. He's been awarded a Whiting Award in fiction, and his reputation has grown from tackling topics like identity, technology, and intimacy with both biting humor and unsettling honesty. With this book, Rejection, it is his first short story collection. The author dives even deeper into the absurdities of modern relationships and the social performance of our digital age. Before I go any further, I must give you a quick warning. I will be revealing some details about the stories in this collection, not everything. So if you'd rather experience them fresh, you may want to skip ahead past the summary just in case I give away something that I don't intend to. And another heads up, this is an incredibly graphic book at times. The author doesn't shy away from explicit descriptions, whether it is sexual, violent, or just uncomfortably raw. It's part of the point, but if that sort of content isn't for you, consider yourself warned. Rejection is a collection of 7 short stories, each of which takes a different angle on the way that people fail or flail or humiliate themselves in pursuit of intimacy or attention or some kind of meaning in life. The characters are often extreme, but always uncomfortably recognizable. So, these are the titles of the chapters, which is also meant to describe the main character of each of these short stories. You have The Feminist. This one follows a man who proudly brands himself as a feminist ally, using the language of progressivism as a way to navigate and often even manipulate his relationships with women. The author skewers the hollowness of this self-image, showing how performance can stand in for any actual principles. Then you have Pics, which zeroes in on the economy of sharing intimate images. The protagonist obsesses over some nudes that circulate and, of course, the power that they have, what it means to both give and to receive them. This story is, like I said, one of the more graphic ones, but its point is also to show how vulnerability and exhibition collapse into each other in online culture. Then you have Aigio, I think that's how you said it, I don't know for sure, or The Ballad of Sexual Repression. It takes its title from the exaggerated expressions of Japanese porn, and it follows a character who can't seem to reconcile desire with real-world intimacy. It's as much about shame as it is about lust, and tracing how repression can twist relationships and leave people caught between fantasy and reality. And I will tell you now, that is probably the most graphic of all of them, and not just for the sexual content, but just there's a lot of uncomfortable elements in that one that I would say. So if you're curious about this book and you're trying to decide, well, maybe I won't read all of them, that would probably be the first one you'd want to skip if that is what is going to be a holdup for you. Then you have Our Dope Future. This is probably one of the more humorous, but also like very uncomfortable ones at the very fair representation it is of some pretty problematic individuals. This satirizes the tech optimism and startup culture, offering a look at characters who mistake empty jargon and inflated visions for genuine progress. And also it just has a borderline eugenics approach to a future world. And then you have a main character. This one plays with the internet-born idea that everyone sees themselves as the protagonist of the story. The character here is comically self-absorbed, reading every interaction as if the world were centered on them, exposing both their narcissism and also a great deal of insecurity. You have 16 metaphors. This one riffs on the power of language, layering similes and metaphors to sketch the interior life of its narrator. The result is equal parts funny and claustrophobic, showing how words can reveal and obscure the truth of who we are. And then finally, one of the most bizarre short stories I've ever read, especially one in a collection like this, is called Rejection, and it closes the collection with a metafictional twist. It is structured as a rejection letter that spirals into a confession, as well as an argument, and still a whole lot of satire. It captures the sting of being turned down. Again, the title of the book is Rejection, whether that is rejection in publishing, or love, or life, and tying all of these stories together in that broader theme. Across these stories, the author crafts characters who are selfish, delusional, pretentious, or painfully awkward, but always recognizably human. The collection is funny, grotesque, definitely biting, but I think it does a good job at shining a light on the everyday humiliations of our contemporary life. There are a few things that set Rejection apart, and it isn't just the subject matter, though the focus on stuff like sex, failure, and humiliation is already quite bracing. It is also how the author chooses to tell these stories. His writing style is sharp, fast, and often deliberately abrasive. He pushes his sentences to the edge of discomfort, piling on details that make you squirm before twisting them into something sometimes unexpectedly funny, and sometimes just even more awkward. The author's various narrators often speak in the exaggerated cadences of online discourse full of overconfidence. He also mirrors the way people talk in group chats, on social media, or in self-conscious confessionals, which feels either familiar or at the very least something you recognize, even as they also veer into absurdity. At the heart of all of it is performance. This question of how people curate their identities and how they mistake gestures for substance, and how the gap between what we say and what we mean can be quite devastating. His satire doesn't come from cruelty, but from exposing the contradictions of people who, in many cases, look a lot like each of us. I'm still not entirely sure how I feel about this book. While I was reading it, there was a lot of squirming. These stories are graphic, they are uncomfortable, and full of people I wouldn't necessarily want to spend much time with. But the farther away I get from it, the more I find myself laughing a little bit more at the author's exaggerated depictions, the self-declared feminist who can't see his own blind spots, the needy characters who broadcast their insecurities, the cluelessness of people who stumble through social awareness, and the absurdity of trying to navigate a world that is already complicated, and yet it becomes all the more complicated by the chaos of online culture. While I was reading, the stories felt intense and at times overwhelming. I will say though that in hindsight, I can see more of the humor. And I think that that is one of the big tricks that the author is playing with. He is forcing you to confront how ridiculous and recognizable these characters are. That said, not everyone will react the same way. Some readers may never get past the discomfort to reach the humor. For me though, the distance has made the satire sharper, and of course with that, all the more funnier. So who is this for? This book is for readers who enjoy the satire that cuts close to the bone. If you like fiction that doesn't just tell stories, but actively pokes fun at your cultural blind spots like sex and politics, or of course, most importantly, the internet, and the way that we perform our identity on all of those subjects, but again, most importantly, on the internet, then I think that Rejection will probably click with you. It's also for readers who appreciate short stories that are bold and formally inventive. I think that the author experiments with style quite well, whether it is the rejection letter that spirals into absurdity, or the over-the-top inner monologues of characters who feel like they've stepped right out of social media feeds. And finally, it's for the reader who doesn't mind being made uncomfortable. If you want a collection that will make you laugh, but also to make you squirm, and maybe to smile a little bit, at least with some distance, then I think that you will probably recognize a piece of yourself in this mess, and that may be a good thing. Who is this not for? Well, this is definitely not a book for everyone. If you're easily unsettled by the graphic material, then you will want to steer clear of Rejection. Can't say it enough times, it is explicit. It is uncomfortable, it is humiliating, and it is designed to do that. It is meant to provoke you through that discomfort. It's not for readers who prefer subtlety or uplifting arcs. These stories revel in awkwardness, exaggeration, and characters who are deeply flawed, sometimes unlikable, and often their own worst enemies. And none of that is going to give you a uplifting ending if that's what you're looking for. So if you need neat resolutions or hopefully some kind of special takeaways, this collection really isn't going to provide it for you in quite the same way. Finally, if you're looking for fiction that treats its characters gently, this may not be a fit. I'd say that the author's satire is razor-edged, and he is not afraid of leaving you anywhere from a little less to extremely less comfortable by the end of reading these. Rejection is a collection that left me conflicted when I first read it. I honestly didn't like it. The graphic nature, the abrasive tone, and the sheer discomfort of being inside these characters' heads made it a tough experience, and I probably won't be revisiting it anytime soon. But the more distance I get from the book, the more I do find myself laughing at its satire. I think that Tulathimutte exaggerated depictions of entitlement, neediness, and social cluelessness feel sharper in hindsight. What felt overwhelming in the moment now strikes me as pointedly funny, even if the humor won't land for everyone. So while this book isn't a book I loved in the act of reading, I can appreciate what it's doing, and I suspect it may linger with readers in complicated ways. Of course, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Have you read Rejection? Did you laugh or squirm or both? Please let me know in the comments below. And if you know someone who enjoys this provocative short fiction, please share this video with them. Share any of my videos with them. Please go find more reviews. I review everything. Again, the name of the channel is Spencer Reads Everything. Find something else that you are interested in. But don't forget to like, subscribe, turn on those notifications. And until next time, keep those pages turning.